We live in interesting times. On tonight's headlines. A Thai princess announced a bid to run for prime minister, but it was swiftly opposed by her brother, the king. Venezuela's self-proclaimed acting president Juan Guaido refuses to rule out the possibility of authorizing the United States intervention to help force President Nicolas Maduro from power and alleviate a humanitarian crisis. And our EBC correspondent Thomas Likeness gives us the latest weather situation in Canada. A community in Des Moines, Washington receives winter essentials during an Aid to Humanity event sponsored by the Iglesia ni Cristo and the Felix Y. Manalo Foundation. Good evening, everyone. I'm Alma Angeles. Welcome to the program, and now to the news. Thailand's powerful king, Maha Vajiralongkorn, late Friday described an unprecedented move to make his older sister, Princess Ubal Ratana, Prime Minister as highly inappropriate and against royal traditions. Ubal Ratana, 67 years old, the older sister of Vajiralongkorn, was announced hours earlier as a candidate in the upcoming elections for the Thai Raksa Chart Party, which is steered by the divisive Shinawat political clan. Her shock entrance into frontline Thai politics was a first by a member of the powerful royal family and promised to reshape the political landscape of the country. But a late-night statement from the palace left no doubt over the king's displeasure at the move. The king and royal family exist in a status above politics, said the statement published in the Royal Gazette and given blanket television coverage. The statement did not criticize Ubal Ratana, instead praising her public work. But it appeared aimed at those behind her sudden stride into politics. To bring a senior royal family member into the political system in any way is against royal traditions and the nation's culture, which is highly inappropriate. While the monarchy, which is vastly wealthy and protected from criticism by a harsh royal defamation law, has been seen as above the political fray, royals have intervened in moments of political crisis. In a day of high drama, Junta Chief Prayut Chan-Ocha also declared his candidacy for premier, running for the pro-military Phalang Pracharat Party moments after the princess's announcement. Election authorities have a week to review which candidates put up by each party are allowed to run for premier after the March 24 poll. The party that nominated a Thai princess to run for prime minister has said it will comply with the king's statement opposing the move. In other news now, there was still some hard work to be done ahead of the upcoming summit between U.S. President Donald Trump and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. A Washington envoy said Saturday after 3 days of talks in Pyongyang. Stephen Biegun, the U.S. Special Representative for North Korea, said preparatory talks had been productive, but more dialogue was needed ahead of the summit scheduled for Vietnam from February 27 to the 28th. Biegun on Saturday briefed South Korean Foreign Minister Kang Kyung-hwa on his Pyongyang visit, shortly after President Trump revealed the summit would take place in the Vietnamese capital, Hanoi.
February. The President is very much looking forward to taking the next steps. We have some hard work to do with the DPRK between now and then, and I'm confident that if both sides stay committed, we can make real progress here. So.
The State Department said talks during Biegun's 3-day trip explored Trump and Kim's commitments of complete denuclearization, transforming U.S.-DPRK relations, and building a lasting peace on the Korean Peninsula. It also confirmed Biegun had agreed to meet his North Korean counterpart Kim Yok-chol again before the summit. North Korea has yet to provide any official confirmation of the summit, and Kim Jong-un appeared to make no mention of it during a meeting earlier with the top brass of the Korean People's Army. As reported by state media, the meeting focused on the need to modernize the military while maintaining party discipline in the ranks. A 29-year-old who shot dead 6 worshippers at a Quebec City mosque in the worst anti-Muslim attack in the West got life in prison Friday. Take a look. Alexander Bissonnette will have to wait 40 years longer than usual before he can apply for parole. In his decision, Judge Francois Huot rejected a prosecution request for a 150-year sentence, which would have been the longest ever in Canada, saying subjecting a murderer to a sentence that exceeds his life expectancy would be a cruel and unusual punishment under Canadian law. But he also noted the killer's visceral hatred of Muslim immigrants. While reading his sentencing decision, the Quebec Superior Court judge said that punishment should not be vengeance. On the evening of January 29, 2017, Bissonnette stormed into the Quebec Islamic Cultural Center and shot at those gathered for prayers, killing 6 and seriously injuring 5 others, including layman Amen Derbal, who is now paralyzed. He pleaded guilty to 6 counts of attempted murder, including 1 count for the 35 people who were present in the mosque at the time of the shooting, but who were not injured. "I am ashamed of what I did," he told a Quebec courtroom at the time. "I'm not a terrorist. I'm not an Islamophobe." Justice Wood said Bissonnette's actions in entering the mosque at the end of prayers and shooting congregants was motivated by prejudice, but the judge also noted Bissonnette had mental health issues.
Des collègues attristés, mais aussi un grand vide.
In other news, a second woman has accused Virginia's lieutenant governor of sexual misconduct, according to U.S. media, further adding to the political turmoil in the eastern U.S. state. Lieutenant Governor Justin Fairfax is next in line for the governorship if Governor Ralph Northam, who faces intense pressure to resign over a racist yearbook photo, decides to step down. The Washington Post reported that a Maryland woman accused Fairfax of a premeditated and aggressive attack when the two were undergraduate students at Duke University in 2000, while CNN said the woman had accused Fairfax of rape. The allegation comes after another woman accused Fairfax of misconduct over a sexual encounter they had in a hotel room 15 years ago, one that he insists was 100% consensual. Fairfax, a 39-year-old Democrat, won election in November alongside Northam, who has been fighting for his political survival since a 1984 yearbook surfaced that features a racist photo on a page dedicated to him. After initially saying he was in the photo, which pictures one man in blackface next to another wearing a Ku Klux Klan robe and hood, Northam now denies appearing in the image and has so far declined calls to step down. Venezuela's self-proclaimed acting president Juan Guaido refused to rule out the possibility of authorizing United States intervention to help force President Nicolas Maduro from power and alleviate a humanitarian crisis. National Assembly leader Guaido told AFP he would do everything that is necessary to save human lives, acknowledging that U.S. intervention is a very controversial subject. Take a look.
Simplemente lo que hace Maduro es tratar de tener un enemigo exterior, o sea, tratar de hacer alguna causa común con parte de la izquierda mundial, pero eso no es así. O sea, esto es un tema de izquierda o derecha en Venezuela, esto es un tema de humanidad ya en este punto, y nosotros haremos lo que tengamos que hacer necesario de manera soberana, de manera autónoma, para lograr el cese de la usurpación, el gobierno de transición y elecciones libres.
Entonces usted haría...
Now he has dismissed Maduro as illegitimate over his re-election last May in polls branded a fraud by the U.S., EU, and many Latin American countries. Guaido says the Constitution allows him to assume power, set up a transitional government, and hold new elections, one of his key demands that has received widespread international support. Meanwhile, Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro vows not to let in fake aid from the United States requested by opposition leader Juan Guaido, which is being stockpiled at the border with Colombia. Guaido has claimed 300,000 people could die if Maduro doesn't allow the humanitarian aid to enter. Over the border, Venezuelan troops are blocking the road that trucks carrying the aid would have to travel on. Take a look.
Y quiero enviarle un mensaje a los militares, que están a escasos metros aquí algunos y nos escuchan. Señores militares, esta ayuda también es para ustedes. Aquí viene comida para tus hijos, aquí vienen medicamentos para el pueblo que está sufriendo, aquí viene ayuda para los niños. Tu labor no es condenarlos, es ayudarlos. Soldados de la patria, es la hora de ponerse del lado del pueblo y rebelarse frente al tirano.
Simón Bolívar del Palacio de Miraflores, el ciudadano Nicolás Maduro.
Venezuela no va a permitir el show de la ayuda humanitaria falsa porque no somos mendigos de nadie.
In Somalia, a gunman killed the manager of the port of Bosaso in the semi-autonomous Puntland state. The attack has been claimed by Islamist Al-Shabaab group. Take a look.
Somalia's Al-Shabaab militants shot dead the Maltese manager of a major port in the semi-autonomous Puntland state on Monday before detonating a car bomb in the capital that killed 9 others. The president of Puntland state, Sayed Abdullahi Deni, decried the killing.
The killing of Paul today is not only an assassination of a port manager, it's like a mass killing against the people of Puntland as well. It is intended to tear down the development, the economy and reputation of the state.
The attack was claimed by the Al-Qaeda affiliate Al-Shabaab group, which claimed it was part of border operations targeting the mercenary companies that loot Somali resources. The Dubai-based ports company P&O Ports has sparked friction with Mogadishu over its development of
The food we eat has huge potential to improve both human health and environmental sustainability. But too often today, it is posing a threat to both people and the planet. That is according to a new report by the Eat Lancet Commission, launched at the United Nations headquarters in New York. U.S.-based actor and activist Alec Baldwin warned that humankind was causing global climate change, which, if we do not act, will be our undoing.
To turn things around, we need to find solutions that work for both people and planet. And there are too few approaches that look at the big picture of where these challenges overlap. That, my friends, is what the Eat Lancet Commission report is all about: setting targets, connecting the dots, and calling for collaboration. It is a blueprint for a better future based on what we put on our plates every day. Food is the single largest driver of land conversion and forest loss. Already, humans have seized almost half of all vegetated land area on the planet, and most of that has been used for agriculture. That expansion has been a leading cause of species extinction and biodiversity loss. Reducing meat production drastically will be nothing less than essential to achieve the half-Earth goal. If we base our recipes on plants, a lot of them, and in great variation, we can protect the planet and thus our own health with it. Plants require far less water, energy, and land, and producing them emits a fraction of greenhouse gases. In fact, per gram of protein, producing beef requires 20 times more land than producing beans. If we shift to plant-rich diets, we can help save the planet.
The Eat Lancet Commission on Food Planet Health brings together more than 30 world-leading scientists from across the globe to reach a scientific consensus that defines a healthy and sustainable diet. Next, Ontario is set to announce that it is cutting tuition fees for college and university students, as reported by our EBC correspondent, Patricia Kaday.
Education is an investment, and post-secondary education in Ontario is indeed an expensive one. According to the Ministry of Training, Colleges and Universities, post-secondary students in Ontario currently pay the highest tuition fee rates in Canada. University tuition fees on average cost $9,000 a year, and college tuition fees cost about $3,400 annually. Because of this, the Ontario government is making significant changes this year to its student loan program, OSAP, or the Ontario Student Assistance Program, to help lower tuition fees. According to the ministry's website, tuition rates will now be lowered by 10% for all students at every publicly funded college and university in Ontario.
I don't think it's good. It doesn't help as much because it's reducing it by 10%. I know it makes more loans, which is also not good because a lot of loans are hard to pay back. So tuition's grants are a lot easier to help with.
In addition, students will also now get a choice to opt out of other non-tuition student fees such as student handbooks, non-student related organizations, or student club fees, thereby further reducing several $100s from their annual expenses.
I have dental covered already without the school. I don't participate in many clubs, so a lot of those fees I don't need to be paying. Like, I'm not going to use them.
The 6-month grace period on loans after graduating will now be charged interest. All these and other changes have been outlined and presented by the Ministry of Training, Colleges and Universities.
They're actually so stressed about it after hearing this stuff, when the interest is charged at once, and they don't know, they won't be getting the job for sure because they're doing a 2-year program and some sort of programs that's so demanding, and they can't get the job right away. So they will have to do their odd jobs, like what they do right now part-time, and they will be able to continue their higher education too. So I think that they're going to have a hard time.
These changes are not getting a full approval, especially from the students. The Canadian Federation of Students Ontario organized a rally calling for Premier Doug Ford to not follow through these changes. Losing the 6-month interest-free grace period, less financial assistance, and even lesser student groups and clubs budgets have caused major concerns for post-secondary students.
We all have a life to live, and we also don't want to just think about the loans we have to pay when we get out of an education. We kind of want to relax and breathe, considering that schools are already mentally draining, and going day to day to finish these courses and just finish school and get out there, it's kind of scary to think that I'm going to have to pay right away, and with what funds, right?
Marilee Fullerton, Minister of Training, Colleges and Universities, in her interview with Metro Morning, affirms that the current Ontario government maintains communication with students and academic institutions to find a positive way forward for everyone. Reporting for Eagle News, Patricia Kaday, I am 1 with 25.
Eagle News International will be right back. Stay tuned.
our business news, this is Cesar Vallejos. The country's gross international reserves as of end January again breached the $80 billion mark due to the net foreign currency deposits of the government and the increase in the international price of gold. Data released by the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas on Thursday showed that the country's dollar reserves during the period rose to 82.13 billion from 79.19 billion in December 2018. The BSP said its income from investments abroad and its foreign exchange operations also boosted the country's dollar reserves in January. However, the increase in reserves was partially tempered by payments by the national government for servicing its foreign exchange obligations, BSP Governor Nestor Espinilla Jr. said in a statement. The central bank keeps a certain volume of GIR as it will be used to maintain liquidity in case of an economic crisis. This ensures that the country has enough dollars for imports and prevents shortages should instability arise. The BSP said the end January level of GIR continues to serve as an ample external liquidity buffer and is equivalent to 7.2 months worth of imports of goods and payments of services and primary income. It added that it is also equivalent to 6.2 times the country's short-term external debt based on original maturity and 4.2 times based on residual maturity. The opening up of the Philippine rice market is inevitable as Malacanang said President Duterte will not veto the rice tariffication bill even as he acknowledged that it will be detrimental to farmers. Duterte had a dialogue with rice farmers, millers and retailers last Wednesday to discuss their concerns over the measure. They deemed the dialogue as their last-ditch effort to convince the president to veto some of the bill's provisions, particularly the removal of the National Food Authority's power to intervene in the local rice market. However, Duterte will consider their concerns before acting on the bill, which would convert the quantitative restriction on rice into tariffs. He has ordered the Department of Agriculture, Department of Finance, Department of Trade and Industry to consolidate all the issues raised by the stakeholders, Agriculture Secretary Emmanuel Piñol said, and the President will look at the report first before acting on the bill. The President is open to reducing the allocation for research under the Rice Competitive Enhancement Fund and transfer it to direct support for farmers, according to Trade Secretary Ramon Lopez. This is to provide farmers with a better safety net once the rice tariffication bill is signed into law. The proposed law will create the RCEF, also called the Rice Fund, which will consist of an initial appropriation of 10 billion pesos and all duties collected from the importation of rice. As a safety net, the Rice Fund will be used to finance programs, whether through direct support or research for farmers. Under the bill, 50% of the RCEF is to be used for the purchase of rice farm equipment such as tillers, tractors, seeders, threshers, rice planters, harvesters, among others, for purposes of improving farm mechanization. Further, 30% of the Rice Fund will be allocated for the development, propagation, and promotion of inbred seeds to rice farmers. The bill also sets aside 10% for credit with minimal interest to farmers and cooperatives, and the remaining 10% is for research and education on rice crop production, modern rice farming techniques, seed production, farm mechanization, as well as technology transfer through farm schools nationwide. According to Lopez, the President is amenable to adjusting the allocation of the Rice Fund in response to the plea of industry stakeholders for stronger safety nets under a rice tariff regime. However, he stood firm on the provisions of the bill concerning the NFA. The measure will strip the NFA of its power to control the volume of rice imports entering the Philippine market, as well as of its capacity to license importers. Government economists estimate prices of rice will go down 4 pesos to 7 pesos per kilo once the bill is in place. However, farmers fear this could spell the death of the domestic rice industry as the NFA is removed of its power to manage the volume of imports. Companies abroad, such as those in the European Union, are starting to realize that it is more cost-efficient to invest in the Philippines than hire Filipino workers to work in Europe. EU Ambassador Franz Jessen said investing in the Philippines and hiring workers locally is a win-win situation for both companies and the workers. Jessen said one such European company now operating in Davao was among the first to think about this option. He said by locating to the Philippines, the company saves on airfare allowances and does not separate workers from their families. The ambassador said it is better to attract foreign direct investments so that Filipinos can work in their own country and they can create the work here and not go abroad and use their skills there. The key to increasing investments, however, is infrastructure. Jessen said that while he cannot pass judgment on whether the government's massive infrastructure program is progressing, he can say that it is a step in the right direction. Jessen added, addressing the country's infrastructure constraints can ease congestion in ports, airports, and even the streets of Metro Manila, which are costing billions in lost revenues due to delays and man-hours lost. The study made by Japan International Cooperation Agency last year estimated that traffic in Metro Manila costs 3.5 billion pesos daily as of 2017. This is higher than the 2.6 billion estimate made by JICA in 2012. Based on the 2016 survey on overseas Filipinos, the Philippine Statistics Authority said there were 2.24 million Pinoys working abroad. Of this number, around 6.6% or 147,840 are working in Europe. The largest concentration of Filipinos abroad, or 85%, are located in Asia, particularly Western Asia at 56.9%. In Western Asia, the most number of OFWs are located in Saudi Arabia at 23.8%, followed by the United Arab Emirates at 15.9%. Flag carrier Philippine Airlines and all Nippon Airways are set to explore a mutual cooperation. Celebrating their partnership, all officials went to ANA's headquarters in Tokyo on Friday. Both carriers pledged their commitment to work together and lift each other up. Michael Tan, PAL Holdings Director and Treasurer, represented his father Lucio during Friday's meeting. In his speech, Tan emphasized that the two carriers will work together and mutually cooperate to build on each other's legacies. The parent company of All Nippon Airways will invest in the operator of Philippine Airlines to take advantage of growing demand for travel in Asia. Japan's ANA Holdings said on Friday that it plans to acquire a 9.5% stake in PAL Holdings. The transaction will cost about $95 million. And is to be completed by the end of March. ANA and the Philippine Airlines already jointly operate international flights between Japan and the Philippines. They will add code sharing on domestic routes in both countries under the new Capital Alliance. U.S. officials will be in Beijing on February 14 to 15 for the third round of talks aimed at heading off an escalation of the ongoing trade war with China, the White House announced Friday. The White House said U.S. Trade Representative Robert Lighthizer and Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin will visit Beijing for the talks. The meetings will be preceded by deputy-level negotiations from Monday. The U.S. delegation will be led by Deputy Trade Representative Jeffrey Gerish. The U.S. officials are expected to press hard for China to fundamentally alter its trade practices. The two sides remain wide apart over China's alleged violations of intellectual property rights and forced transfers of technologies to Chinese firms. The United States is poised to raise tariffs on Chinese imports if they fail to reach a deal by March 1st. With an agreement out of sight, President Donald Trump has reversed course and now says he has no plans to meet Chinese President Xi Jinping before the deadline. Global stocks mostly fell Friday amid worries over slowing global growth and continued uncertainty on U.S. trade-China talks. Key European stock markets were all lower at the close, with Frankfurt again at the weakest performer and Paris and London also retreating. U.S. stocks also were under pressure, spending most of the day in the red before recovering and ending nearly unchanged. After the rebound in January, we go back to fundamentals, said Maris Og, analyst and portfolio manager at Tower Bridge Advisors, who said commentary from companies during earnings season had emphasized sluggishness in Europe and China. Og said if the deceleration continues in Europe and China, it will be very difficult for the U.S. alone to buck against these trends. The logical approach is to take some risk off the table. Analysts cited the latest signals on U.S.-China trade talks, which were not especially upbeat. On Thursday, U.S. President Donald Trump said he did not expect to meet his Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping before a March 1 deadline for the two economic powers to reach a deal before new tariff actions came into effect. And that's it for Business News. This is Cesar Vallejos, and I'm one with 25. Eagle News International will be back. Stay with us.
Welcome back. A cold snap hit Tokyo and its surrounding area Saturday, disrupting flight operations at major airports in the region. The meteorological agency said up to 5 centimeters of snow is expected to fall in downtown Tokyo by 6 a.m. Sunday, as a cold air mass remains above a wide swath of the country's east. Airline companies have canceled some flights for Saturday. As of 11:30 p.m. Friday, Japan Airlines had canceled 24 inbound and outbound flights at Haneda Airport in Tokyo and Narita Airport in neighboring Chiba Prefecture. Jetstar has canceled 20 flights at Narita and Chubu Airport in Aichi Prefecture, central Japan. All Nippon Airways has grounded 12 flights at Narita. The carriers are urging travelers to check their website for the latest flight information. More cancellations are possible, it said. At Narita Airport in Chiba Prefecture, the operator closed one of its runways to clear it of snow. Cold weather also continued to hit Hokkaido on Saturday, with the mercury dropping below minus 20 degrees Celsius in many locations, including Rikobetsu, where the temperature was recorded at minus 31.8 degrees Celsius, according to the agency. Now, agency officials are urging the public to be careful on icy roads and prepare for traffic disruptions. To Canada now, where extreme cold warnings remain in effect for almost all of Alberta and Saskatchewan, as well as parts of Manitoba, as daytime highs struggle to climb above minus 25 degrees Celsius for many this week. Here's Thomas Eyelikeness to give us a feel of what it is like there. Thomas?
With the extreme cold temperatures in Canada's prairie provinces, probably the best place for the car is parked, preferably in a garage. The three prairie provinces, Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba, have been in a deep freeze for more than a week. Temperatures with wind chill have dropped to the minus 40s overnight, with daytime highs in the minus 30s. Combined with snow at times, it has made driving hazardous because of reduced visibility. Even without the snow, streets are a sheet of ice, and the slippery conditions have resulted in hundreds of accidents in the major cities of the provinces. The cold is dangerous for those who are outdoors. Prolonged exposure can lead to frostbite and even death. In Alberta, weather has been blamed for the deaths of 2 people. The body of a 92-year-old man was found a short distance from his car, which ended up in a ditch. He froze to death, going for help. Edmonton police say a man was found frozen to death near the city's football stadium. For the homeless, finding a warm place to stay can be a challenge. Some set up makeshift tents. Others find a bed for the night at shelters, but those shelters are running at capacity. People who have to be outside cope by dressing with many layers of clothing. And this little guy, well, he has his own fur coat. The prairie provinces are unlikely to see any relief from these cold temperatures for at least a week. In the deep freeze in Edmonton, Canada, Thomas Eyelikeness, Eagle News, I'm one with 25.
Thank you, Thomas. Winter this year can be very brutal, but help from our neighbors is a warm reminder on how good it feels to help each other out. Our EBC correspondent Frendel Ferran reports from Seattle.
From Des Moines, Washington, I'm here at the Damascus Community Center, where the Iglesia Ni Cristo Church of Christ had come and brought aid to humanity. Let's take a look at what's going on today.
The Church of Christ Aid to Humanity project has benefited a multitude of people from around the world. Here in Des Moines, a city in King County, Washington, through the Aid to Humanity project, the members of the INC are given the opportunity to serve their communities by supplying winter essentials and others, and most importantly, the love and smiles that you see resonating in the duration of the entire afternoon. In an intimate setting, the members of the INC had spent the day welcoming and embracing each attendee like family.
You do amazing things that help. Just the love that you guys, you can feel the love. You hear how you welcome. Open arms, like if I knew you for years, you welcome me. I'm just like blown away, incredible on what you guys do all over the world. And you step in. But sometimes people don't want to step in. And your volunteers now, you must. I have to go. They want to go. They want to help. You know, all over the world.
When your heart is full, you just cannot contain it.
Aid to Humanity, the Iglesia Ni Cristo Church of Christ, was able to reach out to the community here in Des Moines, Washington. Can't wait to see more. I'm Frenzel Heron. I'm 1 with 25.
What do you do with hundreds of thousands of icicles during winter? Our correspondent Thomas Likeness is back with this report.
What do you do on a cold winter day in a frozen Canadian city? You go out and you look at some ice. But this ice in Edmonton isn't just any frozen water. It's an architectural wonder. The ice castle you're looking at is built one icicle at a time, all of them hand-placed by ice artists. Here's a bit of history. It was the brainchild of Brent Christensen, who had moved from California to Alpine, Utah 11 years ago. Now, to get his kids outside, he built an ice cave in his yard. That structure proved to be a hit not only with his children, but with youngsters from all over the town. The kids called it the Ice Castle, and the following year, a nearby resort became his new home. Since then, the size of the structure has grown, and the frozen attraction is located in 6 cities across North America, including Edmonton. Brandy Burns, assistant event organizer, says the process begins with the icicles.
So we grow the icicles individually, icicle by icicle. We start when weather permits in December, typically, before we open, and harvest the icicles and build the castle one by one.
She says now it's time to start construction.
We remove them from what they're growing on, and then actual artisans build the castle based on training from the person who originally made this patent and design.
Burns says the whole process takes several weeks.
Well, it's very weather dependent. We had a warm December here in Edmonton, so I think it's usually approximately 4 to 6 weeks, but it's extremely weather dependent. There were some days in December where not a lot of progress happened.
The finished structure is a wonder to behold. It features thrones. There are fountains. For the youngsters and oldsters alike, ice slides. LED-lit sculptures are particularly eye-catching, especially at night. And here is one of the many frozen tunnels that visitors can explore. There's even a fire going to warm up by. But what happens if the weather warms up? Organizer Burns says they take no chances.
Our build crew assesses the ice every day, and if ever the castle is deemed unsafe, we do have to close the castle, but otherwise we keep it open right through the warm weather, and but every day it's assessed whether we can be open or closed and what's safe.
Burns says this is a must-see for anyone coming to Edmonton in the winter.
This is a great destination for families, first dates, people visiting from out of the country. It is really exciting. It's lovely to see in the sunshine, in the evening, and in the night. There's lights all built into the ice, and it's gorgeous. So come down to Horlick Park and check it out. She adds several couples, such as these folks, have had their wedding pictures taken here. After an afternoon of looking at ice in the ice castle in minus 21-degree temperatures, I think I'm ready for some hot chocolate. Thomas I. Likeness, Eagle News. I'm 1 with 25.
Thank you, Thomas. Eagle News International will be right back. Stay tuned. Australia now, entries for Townsville's Strand Ephemera in 2019 have now opened, with the biennial event one of the largest sculpture festivals in Northern Australia. Acting Townsville Mayor Leigh Walker said Strand Ephemera is one of the most iconic art festivals in the city, but it also plays a major role in attracting tourists. Our EBC correspondent Elisa Ventura reports from Australia.
The city of Townsville is home to one of the country's most dynamic and flourishing art communities. For many years, the local council has served as the backbone and support behind aspiring performers and artists to showcase their talents through various exhibitions and events. The upcoming Strand Ephemera here in Townsville, Australia, has once again opened its gates this year to allow local artists to showcase their talent within a national category. The Strand Ephemera is a biennial exhibition held and established by the Townsville City Council to provide regional talents a medium to present and display their works. This exhibition is held for 10 days, promising audiences an ephemeral display along the city's iconic and picturesque beachfront, the Strand. Participating artists are also encouraged to use inexpensive materials for their works. The previous Strand Ephemera, which was held back in 2017, attracted over 155,704 visitors during the display period. The exhibition featured a plethora of captivating programs and a selection of curated works that competed for the major $10,000 prize. This year, the selected entries will be displayed from the 26th of July until the 4th of August. Successful applicants will also be granted a $5,000 artist fee. Strand Ephemera has been received positively by the public and still continues to gain significant media attention. This event is the perfect opportunity for local artists and performers to showcase their works to the local, national, and international audience. Reporting for Eagle News International, Australia, this is Elisa Ventura, and I am one with 25.
Thank you, Elisa. Exposez-moi, or Exhibit Me, reads his cardboard cutout as he sits in front of Paris landmarks next to one of his colorful paintings. Cameroonian artist Francis Estua, aka Enfant Precoce, is hoping to get galleries to showcase his work, and what better way to get their attention than by taking his art out of town. Take a look.
Bonjour, je m'appelle Francis Essois, je suis enfant précoce, artiste plasticien. Exposez-moi, c'est juste pour trouver une galerie, vu que là je suis, on va dire, en marche et je commence un peu à comprendre comment fonctionnent mes couleurs, comment fonctionnent mes inspi et comment je peux mettre en image ce que j'ai en tête beaucoup plus facilement sur une toile. Du coup, j'aimerais juste trouver une galerie qui correspond un peu à mon travail et le montrer, quoi. Moi, à la base, mon premier médium, c'était dans l'art, en tout cas, c'était la danse. J'aimais beaucoup danser. Arrivé à mes 20 ans où j'ai voulu créer une marque de vêtements et que c'était moi l'illustrateur de la marque, c'est là qui m'a mené à peindre, en fait. Je suis en train d'apprendre en fait à peindre. Je me déclare pas comme peintre, mais plutôt comme artiste qui est en train d'apprendre un médium. J'apprends à mieux gérer mes couleurs, à créer quelque chose d'harmonieux. Déjà la première photo quand on l'a postée, c'était juste un brouillon et ça a motivé plein de gens à regarder un peu mon travail. Il y a eu une émulsion en fait. Et cette émulsion-là, on a essayé de la garder, d'en faire quelque chose de beaucoup plus carré, beaucoup plus propre. Le résultat, pour moi, ce serait de trouver une galerie à la hauteur de mes tableaux.
All right, and that's it for tonight's broadcast. For everyone here on Eagle News International, I'm Alma Angeles, always one with 25. Good night.